Haere mai taku manu, keke mai taku manu ka rere. Te mata o kura, papa kura, waihi. Waihi, wai rākau. Wai rākau, puia moki, kārangi. Kārangi heke ki te taia hororoa. Hororoa, horo iwi puta atu ki te toka o a whiowhio. A whiowhio huri ki te tongo e te rā, whiti tai atu ruahine. Ruahine hoki mai ki uta whangāhe. Whangāhe whakarongotai. Ko te pā ki runga ke te hihi o te rā. Hihi o te rā, whiti tata hoki mai ki te tīmata o kura. Tēnei te rohe pōtai o tau tātenei tūpuna a hauranga taua. Ki hei mauri ora.
Koutou e te whānau, no mai hoki mai ki te Haohao Te Tangata, our Whangaroa Papa Hapū video series where we're talking about all things redress. We're coming to you from a really special, beautiful location today, the whenua of
Kōwhairoa.
Kōwhairoa. So joining us today is Matua Roger Kingi from Kaitangata, one of our well-known kai matua from Whangaroa. Tēnā koe matua for joining us today. And yeah, for bringing us to your whenua. It's such a beautiful place to be able to share this kōrero.
Tēnā koe, kia ora mai tātou. We're here today to talk about the arrival of Kaitangata, when they arrived here, what they would have seen, this format of ngahere, and from the actual taking of the whenua by the Crown in 1912 and for the returning of it in 2017. Almost 105 years from the taking to us, Kaitangata, or the iwi Ngāti Kahu ke Whangaroa getting it back. So the journey, the Pākeh's journey to acquire this whenua began in 1915, driven by the County Council of Whangaroa, the chairman of the council, back in 1915. Along came the First World War and the talks of taking the whenua stopped. So after the First World War, 1921, they regenerated the talk and they had to figure out how they could get this whenua off us, off the Māori. And so they utilised the Public Works Act. They utilised the Public Works Act to take the whenua and then they hid it away under the Scenic Preservation Act. They then gave the mana of the whenua to the Whangaroa County Council to look after. At the time of the taking, my tūpuna was living here, Motukiwi Honetua was living here, down at where our workshed is currently. He had a Nico whare there, and after the taking they came to have a look at the whenua and they found our tūpuna living on it. And the description in their kōrero was they discovered a venerable old man living on the seashore of the reserve. And I had to tell him he had to leave. Now how would you feel that, eh? Wake up in the morning, there's some Pākehā getting out of a boat saying, hey koro, you have to leave. So they took the whenua in 1920 under the Public Works Act. They gave it to the council to look after, and then in 1968 the council gave the whenua back to the Crown because it wasn't meeting its outcomes for the Crown way back then. Was lands and surveys, then it was the Bay of Islands, Maritime Park, and finally ending up with DOC. DOC were the last caretakers of the whenua.
Do you have any memories, Matua, of when you were younger coming to this whenua?
We never used to come here.
Oh, okay.
We used to go down the far end. We used to go there to pick pippies and fish from there, and we used to stay there. But we never came up this end because my mother at the time deemed this place to us as being tapu, and that when they had the Battle of Okahumoko and they gave Kaitangata a hiding, they brought some of the bodies down here and they cooked them in the hangi down there. Yeah, so that's where they after we got a hiding at Kahumoko, you'll see some kōrero about Kaitangata getting a hiding by Ururoa and others. That kōrero is out there, so I don't need to regurgitate that, but they put them down here, and that's why she deemed it as tapu. Now, in probably the late 70s, after the Waitangi Tribunal was established, our kaumata, Papawake, Matua Roger, Hopa Puata, Leo Pomana, Sid Kira, and Mike Sheehan started talking about making an application to the tribunal to get this whenua back. So that's way back in the 70s, or not long after the tribunal was established. They started talking, and then they had the hearing in Awanui. Pita Pāngari submitted a application to the tribunal, and there started the pathway for talking to the Crown about the return of whenua for the settlement.
So it was always an important kōrero that had been amongst your whānau about getting this whenua back?
Back then, it was only believed that the Crown would only give our wāhi tapu back, wasn't going to give whenua back. So when the Crown took the land, our people were leasing it to a local farmer by the name of Lance, and they took the whenua, they paid the Pākehā over £1,000 to the Pākehā to break his lease, and then they paid to the 58 Maori owners that same $1,000. The Pākehā on his own, he gets $1,000, and the 58 owners get to share $1,000. £1,000, sorry. So where's the fairness in that? You know? But besides that, we were then went on this pathway of about seeking a settlement for us, and the Crown lumped us with Ngāti Pita Pāngari, Y116. Our claim was Y258, and there's still Y258, and they lumped us and that on our journey of seeking a settlement. So the process was that we were lumped with them, and we went with direct negotiations, direct negotiations with the Crown.
As Kaitangata?
No, as Ngāti Kahu ki Whangaroa.
Oh, okay.
With the two claims co-joint. And after a long journey, we signed an AIP, and then we signed the settlement, the deed of settlement at Tongaroa Marae in 2017, and then went to the government for legislation.
Can you explain that process up until the point of getting the deed signed? Because Whangaroa Papa Hapū and Whangaroa, the Hapū of Whangaroa, are now on that process of trying to get to that point. What was it like to engage whānau and get other people's whakaaro on what that journey should look like?
It was a horrible journey. It was a mongrel journey in that the people didn't want to engage. People didn't engage. People didn't understand the process. And it's a Crown designed process, I guess, to minimise contact, minimise the effects of standing in front of 1,000 people trying to explain. They found it easier to stand in front of 10 people opposed to 1,000 people.
Easier for the Crown, eh?
The claim system is a Crown designed instrument. It's designed to assist the Crown, not to assist the claimant. So yeah, it was a difficult journey. Our people, my hapū, they didn't want to bow of it simply because they didn't understand the process. The process itself was quite straightforward, but the assets that we were seeking, for example, this whenua, this whole 700 acres, this peninsula, the Crown in its initial engagement wanted to give us the eastern tip, the western tip, and they wanted to keep the middle.
What was their reasoning behind that?
They had no reason.
No.
Yeah, because we were, Matua Waka and I went to a meeting with Chris Finlayson, who was the Minister of OTS at the time. Chris Finlayson asked, what can he do to advance, because the talks stalled? What can he do to get the talks back on the table again? And Matua Waka said, he explained the situation. You want to give me this and you want to give me that, but you won't give me the middle. what's the reason? And of course, Chris Finlayson looked at his team, which is Maureen. It's still Maureen today. Maureen had no answer, so I just slipped her. I had my file, but they didn't have their file. I just slipped it over to her, and she slipped it around the desk till it finally got to Chris Finlayson of the map, showing what they were going to give us and they were going to retain. And Chris Finlayson said to Matua Roger, I'll give it all back, just like that. You can have it all back. And excuse the language, but your Matua Roger said, you fucking lying bastard. Chris Finlayson then answered and said, Matua, I just said I'll give it all back. Do you fucking understand what I just said? Them swearing at one another, yeah? And of course their staff, they pushed off the table. Didn't want to be part of the... Here was Matua Roger and I sitting on this side of the table, Chris Finlayson over there. He said, Matua, you can have it all back. And again, Matua Roger said, you're fucking lying. Anyway, to this day we rolled through the process, rolled through all the trips to Wellington, all the trips of OTS coming north to talk to our people, to try and get some reasoning about engagement. But eventually we got there, even though I think it's only 13% of our people voted.
I was going to ask you, because is there a specific number of people that need to engage for the Crown?
No, the Crown, he will engage with anybody. All the Crown wants is to get you off his back. So yeah, and we finally got a deed of settlement, and then we signed it in Otangaroa on whatever date it was. After that, hui in Kaitangata, I can remember the date, the 13th of September 2013 was that hui with Chris Finlayson. I came home from that hui. I rang doc office in Kirikiri because I knew they were looking after this whenua at the time. And I told them I was going to come down and set up a camp at Waitapipi around the corner. And within 20 minutes of that phone call, there was a doc fella knocking on my door, wanting me to talk about me coming down and setting up a camp, even though we hadn't got the whenua back. He believed they still had the mana to tell me, nah, bugger off. He knocked on the door, I let him come in, and he started talking to me. And I said, well, you can hop back in your car, go back to where you fucking came from, and tell your boss, the minister said I can have the whenua back. Christmas 2013 was when I come here. Put my spade in the whenua and say, I'm home.
How did that feel, Matua?
How does it feel? How does it feel when you first come here? How did it feel? Yeah, but all the hard work is still going on. So we're here now. We're playing the role. Ngāti Kahu ki Whangaroa sort of gave us permission to be here because they own the whenua at this moment. They give us permission to be here to play the role of kaitiaki, and that's what we're doing. We got no money with the settlement with our settlement, apart from 300,000 to write a management plan. We had no money, we got no money, but we're still doing what we're doing. You know, in terms of the work that we're doing. I applied and got some money from Doc, I think. They said I could have 400,000. By the time they signed the deal, it was down to 160. But I got 160,000 off the government.
To help support the kaitiakitanga of Kaitangata here on this whenua?
Yeah. So we started trapping. You know, we didn't know what we're doing. We didn't have a bloody idea what we're doing. But what we did see was the trees were dead or dying. And you see all that young undergrowth down there. You take the possum out, that's what happened. See how green it's gone? Yeah. When we first come, it was brown like this. So the possums, what it's telling me, the possums aren't eating the young plants now because we've nullified them.
So it was overrun with like possums and pests.
Yeah, so when we first started, every night, say if we had 10 traps on this track, 10 traps would be full.
What's the situation like now?
I'd be lucky if you get one.
Oh, that's good.
One in a K.
So Matua, now we're in the nursery. So this is obviously one of the many benefits for Kaitangata, but can you speak to some of the wider benefits for Kaitangata post-settlement?
Post-settlement, for Kaitangata, it has had the ability to play the role of kaitiaki on the whenua on Kōwhairoa Peninsula. Since the settlement, they've actually had the opportunity to walk the whenua where the previous 4 generations never had that opportunity. So in talking about some of the outcomes that we've gained is we made an application to the $1 billion tree program, and the minister at the time, Shane Jones, along with MPI, agreed to give us $1.5 million to plant long growth trees, i.e. kauri, tōtara, taraire, karaka, pūriri, mainly the trees that bear fruit, so that we could encourage the birds to return.
And what has that meant for Kaitangata to be able to work the whenua like you have been over the past few years?
It's an awesome feeling, working on whenua that was taken off you 100 years ago and then given back to the moko punas of the people that they took it from. And to then declare, hey, I'm back to our tūpuna that are laying in the ana. So yeah, so if we look behind us, we emptied our shade house. As you can see, it's partially empty. We had over 40,000 plants in here.
Wow.
So behind us is the first 4,000 plants that have come from the prison at Ngāwha back to us ready for next season plant out.
So next season the whānau will go out and start to replant, or not replant, but plant the new rako.
Yeah, the ethos is to plant directly into the undergrowth,
Yeah.
while the larger trees which are slowly dying off, to encourage and to provide shade for those young seedlings, for the young plants. And as I showed you earlier, that karaka that we planted 7 years ago, or 6 or 7 years ago, it's higher than me now.
That must be awesome to see.
Yeah, so the kōrero is that I will never get to sit under any of these trees in all this planting, because I'm getting up there in age now. But my mokopunas will, they will get to sit under these trees at some stage in their life when they come back on board. Yeah, so the goal with the 1BT is to plant 132,000 stems. To date, by the end of this season, we would have planted 98,000. So we've got another 38,000 to go.
Big mahi, but already massive mahi that you've already carried out.
Oh,
Yeah.
big mahi, yeah.
So Matua, Whangaroa is now on the pathway of a potential redress journey. What are some parting whakaaro from you in terms of, insights from what you've experienced and how we can best achieve this process?
Accept that you've been wrong by the Crown. Make the decision to go forward, to seek the best outcome that you can, and just to do it. 3 things. Accept that you've been wrong, set your pathway forward, and then just do it. Get on with it.
Kia ora.
And I understand that there's a lot of anguish in Ngā Puhiki Whangaroa. A lot of anguish about who has the mana, all of those things. We had it here, we still have it here. But just accept that you've been wrong, move on and get on with it. And then one day maybe you have an outcome like this. But bearing in mind, I must say that not all of Kaitangata are accepting of what we have achieved to date. Just to accept that you can please some of the people some of the time, but you can't please all of the people all of the time. You got to make a decision. How long do you want our mokopunas to be fighting, Fighting themselves, not the Crown. The Crown is sitting there waiting. The Crown is sitting there waiting. You've got to decide amongst yourselves how much of this do you want to carry on. Yeah? How much fighting do you want to put up with? You name it.
Tēnā koe Matua, thank you for your kōrero. It's been amazing to not only be on this whenua, but to hear the kōrero of this whenua. So ngā mihi nui. And for all our whānau watching, please make sure to like and share this kōrero if it resonated with you, or even if it didn't, take some time to process. And yeah, we'd love to hear from you. You can reach out to us on comms at whangaroapapahapū.org.nz if you have any whakaaro or kōrero that you'd like to share. And make sure to like us on Facebook, Instagram or YouTube. And also make sure, if you haven't already, to register. We've popped the link in under this kōrero, which means that you'll stay up to date with the pathway as we progress forward. Tēnā koutou katoa and mā te wā until next time. And we'll see you in the coming episode. Kia ora.
Kia ora.